the real issue that needs to be discussed is this on the screen, that there is a petition that was basically promoted for discussion. This was initiated by Gurpreet Singh from Delta, British Columbia. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you might wonder who Gurpreet Singh is. Now, Gurpreet Singh is no ordinary person. He's the husband of a NDP, former NDP minister, Rachna Singh, who recently lost quite convincingly in the provincial elections of British Columbia. Now, what does this petition demand? This is a petition to the House of Commons, which has been now officially being promoted by Sukh Dhaliwal, who is a Surrey Newton Liberal MP from British Columbia. And what does this demand? The petition to the House of Commons says the Air India bombings of June 23rd, 1985, that left 331 people dead was the worst tragedy in the history of aviation terror before 9/11. The victims' families continue to wait for justice and closure. The Sikhs in Canada widely believe that this was the handiwork for foreign intelligence to discredit their political activism and undermine their advocacy for human rights in India. The recent developments within the Sikh community in British Columbia gave credence to this perception. The Canadian government is looking into growing foreign interference in its political affairs. The Sikhs are living under fear since the murder of Surrey Delta Gurdwara President Hardeep Singh Nijjar in June 2023. And on September 18, 2023, the Prime Minister of Canada stated that there are credible allegations of a link between agents of the government of India and killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. So it was opened for signature on August 13th, 2024. It was closed for signature on December 11, 2024. All you need was 500 signatures for anything to be tabled in the parliament to discuss. Now, today, to talk about this horrific demand, because there have been two detailed investigations into the Air India bombing that have conclusively stated that the Khalistani terrorists were behind the most horrific terrorist attack in Canadian history, and before 9/11, the most horrific terrorist attack in North American history. I have with me Sanjay Lazar, who is one of the members of the families that had lost their lives. First of all, Sanjay bhai, thank you for coming, and I'm really sorry for your loss. Uh, um,
Thank you.
and I really applaud you for coming out in the open and talking about this so openly. And obviously, I have Dan with me as always when it comes to Canada. But Sanjay bhai, when you look at a petition like this, as someone who has been at the receiving end of this horrific trauma, as a family member who lost everyone, how does it make you feel?
Thank you, Kushal bhai, for having me, and good morning to you, Daniel. I know it's early morning in Canada. Reading that petition and watching events unfold over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months, 1 year have been, nothing but a kick in the guts for us. It's been, as it is, we lost our families on the 23rd of June, 1985. We struggled for 20 years, literally. We've got victims' families in Canada who formed our own group, and they petitioned the government, they petitioned the RCMP. We chased down so many things, and they finally got a criminal investigation and a trial. And you all know what happened in that trial. Witnesses were killed, evidence was destroyed, people got scared or frightened to come forward, and there were mistakes in the judgment as well, and the killers walked free. Thereafter, you also had Bob Ray's Lessons to be Learned, which was an inquiry held just between John Major and the criminal inquiry, and that was a whitewash of sorts. Finally, we had this Supreme Court's John Major that came up, and we had an entire inquiry with the powers to subpoena, which of course the Honorable Justice John Major fought for, and we finally got a report which clearly said who did what and when. Now, 20, 30, 40 years after the incident, and 20 years after we closed the books on John Major, you have this gentleman and a group of radicals, I'd say, from Canada, who are trying to open it all over again. And we've lost our family not once, not twice. thrice. This will be the fourth time. And every time we hear these new narratives that come out, let's have a new inquiry, let's have a new criminal trial. I wonder what has happened in the last 20 years that you're going to bring to justice. Is there some new evidence? The World Sikh Organization and all its groupies were before Justice John Major. They were defending Malik and Bagri in the trial, criminal trial. So nothing new has come about unless some new, witness has been born during these last 20 years, who, happened to see something in the past. I can't see what sense it makes, really. So it's devastating. It's devastating not only for me, it's devastating for all the families. I don't speak for them officially, but let me just tell you that I'm in touch with a number of them across Canada and in India and in Australia, around the world, and I see this as a grave, grave injustice.
So, Dan,
I mean, I see this as just like another example of like the moral inversion and decline of the West. I mean, this is where the stuff is, where it's like, you know, Israel's attacked on October 7th, and there's videos out of the rapes and the pillaging and the burning alive, and then within a few weeks, people are going to try and invert the narrative that, oh, Israel did it. It was the Hannibal Directive, and Israel killed their own. And it's like, we are so morally lost that we cannot distinguish between the victim and the perpetrator of a crime, even if it's right in front of our face. And this is just another example of it, where it's, you know, for a lot of communities now suffer from. It's not just, oh, it's just the Jews or just this, that. Like, here we have a situation where, you know, if you want to really go back on the Canadian handling of this, like, we treated it like it wasn't even a Canadian terrorist attack to begin with. Like, our prime minister called and, you know, offered his condolences to the Indian prime minister at the time. Like, that's what Prime Maroon did. And it was a Canadian terrorist attack. And that's kind of been the attitude of Canada for, like, let's say 30 years. And then maybe in the last 10 years, it's gotten to the, you know, the Jagmeet Singh type worldview where we're like, no. Now we're actually bringing in the perpetrators of this crime, and they're going to now get justice. We're going to hand the investigation over to the perpetrators of the crime, to, you know, divest vote bank politics, call whatever you want, but it's sick, and it's also perfectly indicative of the, you know, intellectual moral decay within Western institutions. And like, when people say, oh, this woke nonsense or this radical nonsense, it's just university kids saying crazy things. They're 20, they'll get over. No, all, like, the last 10 years, these 20-year-old kids is having silly opinions. They're now staffing everything, and you have a few Khalistanis here and there in power that they feel. I mean, the fact that Sukh Dhaliwal feels confident enough to lend his name to this in Parliament is insane. It's insane. It's like a sitting U.S. senator, like, doing a 9/11 truther bill to get the globe. Like, who would put their name to this? It's insane that he puts his name to this. And here we in Canada, where you could just do this, and then, you know, if you're part of the Liberal Party and the Liberal Party spends billions of dollars on the media, you just can feel confident that Katie Telford will pick up the phone at CBC, CTV, Global News, or whatever, and just say, yeah, you know, don't do this story. Instead run this story in the way that, you know, we're trying to get justice for the victims. Yeah, don't talk to any of the victims' families. Let's talk to Hardeep Singh Najjar. That will be who we are. And that's the state of the country. And it's so blatant that, like, I don't know what to say. And this is the type of stuff that you go back to, like, why is India mad at Canada? And why does India not trust Canada? And why does it's because this? It's because of this. Because we literally, as a country, cannot tell that if there's a man with a gun pointed at a child's head and says, I'm killing you because I want to murder you because you're part of this identifiable group, bing, bang, boom. If he did that on Wednesday, by Friday, he'd be a hero. Wednesday, we might be, Thursday, both sides. Friday, actually, he was right to do it because he's fighting against colonialism or something. Who knows?
So, just to back you up, you know, and I'm reading directly from an article written by Christian Luprecht and Joe Adam George for the National Post. And yeah, you're actually not that quite off. I'm reading directly here. The federal NDP was seemingly approached first, but showed no interest, with party leader Jagmeet Singh and MP Peter Julian taking a pass. Dhaliwal's own Liberal caucus colleague, MP Chandra Arya, referred to the petition as, quote, an attempt to gain publicity and support for terror activities and, quote, promoting conspiracy theories promoted by Khalistan extremists. Imagine even Jagmeet thought this was too hot to handle. And Jagmeet is an open Khalistani.
Yes.
I mean, what is then? How then? The thing is that, okay, if for a person like me who tries to create the balance between giving the Canadian perspective and the Indian perspective for the unique position that I am in, where I'm half here, half there, how many times in the last 10 days have I messaged you, how do I defend this as from a Canadian perspective? Like, and I want to put this on record. Like, I can show screenshots of me messaging Daniel privately. How do I defend this from the Canadian perspective? Because I genuinely have tried to. That's why I got Terry Milevsky in. I wanted Terry to go after the Indian side in whichever way. And even Terry, beyond a point, could not defend Canada, because it's like, how do you defend these things?